Hail Kingdom! Today we take this mercenary from Clear Fell right to the end of the campaign. It's my leveling build guide with all the tips you need if you want to start as mercenary in 0.4 Path of Exile 2. There will be loads of tips to make your campaign as smooth as possible. And with this build you can beat whole campaign in like 6 hours, I did it in around 7, and if you're interested in other classes, just drop what class should I do next in the comments below. First tip will be right before we enter Clear Fell. So actually when you find your first skill in a campaign, you can restart from the checkpoint and open this chest multiple times. It will drop you skill gem. The skill gem can be sold later in the city and you will start campaign with a lot of equipment. You will see it in a minute. But right now let's focus down on the first boss. It's pretty easy. As mercenary you will be able to do basic attack and also fragmentation round, which is basically like shotgun shot. It's better to use basic balls, and it's nice to lure him to the bottom side of the arena and finish fight on the top right side, so you're not forced to fight versus his little zombie friends. This guy drops 3 magic items and we're going straight into Clear Fell encampment. But again, I duplicated bunch of skill gems, therefore I will sell them and I will be able to buy insanely good equipment even before we start game technically. To find equipment more easier, I'm using this shopping list and it will be in pinned comment. And starting game with a weapon with added elemental damage and with armor pieces that gives you maximum life is a lot funnier and just very smooth compared to just basic start. Also Renly gives us skill gem and I crafted permafrost bolts from it. This will be my main skill for clearing monsters at this part of the game. First point of interest in Clear Fell is this camp. There will be a chest with dropped skill gem, and that's our third skill. It will be Contagion from occult skills. Contagion will help us clear packs a lot more faster, and we definitely need it at this point. Also in this area we need to clear down this boss, and it's very easy. I just freeze here with my frost rounds and then I will destroy this freeze with my fragmentation rounds. This combination melts bosses insanely fast. After defeating Bira and getting my permanent resistance to cold damage, instead of going to the next zone, which is Grelwood, I will go back and find Mud Burrow, a zone that most players skip. Look, this is starting timer, and in this zone I will clear leak mechanic, it's abyssal right now, that probably will be switched for some Val mechanic next leak, and also I'm destroying boss in this dungeon. It's pretty easy and roughly takes around 3 minutes. But by clearing these 2 objectives you no longer require any luck, because you will get 2 support gems right from the get-go, even before going into Grelwood, and again it takes just 3 minutes. First support gem comes from Mortimer, he's a leak mechanic guy, and Renly, he is our trader. Also, if you already hit level 4 by this point, don't forget to check a shop, since that's the timing for your next gear upgrade. Most importantly, of course, is our weapon. We're looking for weapon of level 4. Also, we're getting 1 more skill gem of level 2, and I will craft explosive grenades. Adding double barrel support gem as well as elemental ornament to my permafrost bolts. Now, it's a lot more smooth and easier to defeat any monsters. Basically, we're dropping Contagion and then shooting 1 monster and it will clear whole pack. In Grelwood I cleared Witch, because that's where we get upgrade for our flasks, and also Witch drops guaranteed support gem, so now we get 3 support gems right from the get-go. This support gem should go into explosive grenades and we adding multi-shot. And technically can skip all the Grelwood straight to the Red Whale. If you still don't have any upgrade for a crossbow, open weapon chests in this area, there is guaranteed weapon upgrade, but basically we focus down boss, finishing quest and going into Grim Tangle, basically Mushroom Kingdom. And that's why I don't like to level up with grenades at this point. It takes so much time for grenades to blow up. It's just a lot more smooth to go run and gun with our crossbow. Anyway, after defeating Mushroom King we will get 1 more support gem, for a total of 4. Now we will improve power of our fragmentation rounds by adding elemental ornament, because when it shoots enemies who is frozen, it deals only cold damage. When you reach cemetery bosses, they will drop weapon upgrades, but only if you play this area at level 9. How to do it? Well, you need to enter 1 dungeon and instead of finishing it, play 2nd dungeon. It will already be upgraded to level 9. Then go back to previous dungeon and create new instance. By doing this, basically you will create 2 areas of level 9 and improve your chances of hitting weapon upgrade at this point. Technically we got 3 shots in a row, Athenian, the Raven and then this guy on the cemetery entrance. Even if you're not lucky, it's pretty easy to defeat them with this build setup and with weapon upgrade from Red Whale. After completing this step, I went back in town and unlocked Hooded One. Now I can identify my items for free and sell blue items for a lot more gold, while still disenchanting yellow items to get regal orbs, and clearing all objectives in hunting grounds, because there's another guaranteed support gem. Also I was lucky and dropped pretty good crossbow at this point, so from now on this act will be just a cakewalk for us. Passive tree at this point is pretty simple, we're just investing in projectile damage and that's it. And if you're curious, I got different snapshots from my run, so you can check exact setup for skilled support gems and also passive tree. At this point it's still more or less simple, but this part is really important. We need not only to pick up smithing tools, but also open this chest, because there's guaranteed blank rune. This blank rune will be exchanged from Renly for a rune that adds a lightning damage to our attacks. And no, we won't use it right now, we get more than enough damage to deal with bosses, and especially boss in Ogam village, because after this victory we will get up and also save this lady. After speaking with her in town, we will unlock skill gem level 5 and craft gas grenade. This is basically the setup for act number 1. Still need to hit level 14 and I forgot to clear Frey Turn, so I did that right now and unlocked my spirit. But at this point we don't need any spirit, so I just checked the shop and bought upgrade for my gloves. Pretty lucky run so far. By the way, if you're not sure which weapon is better, you can just equip it faster by looking on the skill at the same time. If you see higher DPS, this weapon will be better. And with best crossbow I could find, I went straight to Ogam Manor to try and defeat our first big boss. I know that those of you who just starting out in POE2 probably struggling against this boss, but he is quite easy if you followed all previous steps. If you looked for items with added life, so you're pretty tanky and got at least like 300 life at this point, and have more or less decent crossbow. Strategy versus bosses is pretty simple with this build. Basically we try to freeze boss with our permafrost rounds and then destroy, blow him up with fragmentation rounds. Then just throw all grenades, first green and then fire ones, and that's basically it. This build gives exactly this flexibility we need, so when target is stationary we actually can start hitting with our grenades. When target tries to run away, we basically shoot with our shotgun. And if grenades is still on cooldown, we also shoot with our shotgun. Also I can give you advice not to rush, just try to run away, wait few times, and don't rush to do all attacks in a matter of few seconds. And you will be able to defeat this boss without using any lotions and potions petal, just like that. It's so easy because grenades was the biggest winner from changes to support gem system in latest patch, because we can use multi-shot on boost grenades, but if it will be fixed, this build will still work. You will just change multi-shot to fire attunement and it will be good. And don't worry before approaching Act 2, don't spend your resource in this shop, because in Act 2 you probably will find upgrade for your weapon instantly. This 10th crossbow is already better than every crossbow that I can buy in Act 1. Sometime of course we will get very lucky rolls, but in most cases it's better not to invest any currency in Act 1. And this is actually a part of our strategy. So at the start of Act 2 I want to look for crossbow of level 14, exactly this makeshift crossbow. I just hit a jackpot and that's exactly what you're looking for. Added elemental damage and level to all projectile skills, in my opinion, is just best in slot bonuses on your weapon. High increased physical damage is also great. If you won't find this upgrade, you just want to look in the shop for a similar crossbow and buy it and then craft it. With currency we already have, but in my run I was pretty lucky, so I just spent artificial orbs to create bunch of sockets and add my lightning runes that I got from Act 1 into crossbow. It instantly increases our damage pretty nicely, since 2 runes adds about 20% extra DPS, which is pretty crazy. Since I can deal some lightning damage right now and shock enemies, I decided to craft my spirit gem that I got from Frey Turn. it will be Herald of Thunder. It will increase our clearing speed a lot. And I really like to destroy as many monsters as possible in this area, because they got a really high chance to drop Blacksmith Whetstone and Armor Scrap. It will be useful for us later. Anyway, I went straight for the boss and she's pretty easy. Again, we got nice upgrade and she's basically one-shotted by shotgun combination and grenades. But I will create galvanic shards now and completely forget about my combination after clearing next zone. Because in the next zone there's a bunch of bosses. These bosses are pretty fast, like Balbala the Traitor, and instead of trying to hit her with grenades, I like to just freeze her and then boom, she's out. Yeah, that's how powerful our combination is right now. Still, grenades is just OP versus bosses. That's why I focus on bosses with grenades mostly. So after clearing this zone, I remove my skills from crossbow and add only galvanic shards to my arsenal, adding double barrel and elemental ornament. Galvanic shards is just super easy to use skill. You just hold button and destroy packs of monsters with one shot. It's a lot easier to use than grenades because you need to aim your shots, you don't need to be in perfect place, and it's just safe run and gun play style, super easy to get used to. And yeah, you can be a lot more faster with grenades only, but we will compensate for the speed with our smart passive skill tree. We got weapon set points right now, some of them, and we can actually spend them in a really smart way. I will use this part of the tree to increase my grenade damage and allocate it to weapon set number 2, while weapon set number 1 will go over here in movement speed after kill. Galvanic shards will go to weapon set number 1, all grenades will go to weapon set number 2. And also don't forget, you can share same crossbow between two weapon sets by pressing on the lock here or corresponding button on controller. So now I can run and gun with increased movement speed and clear monsters really fast, while at the same time my grenades will be insanely deadly for bosses. Also, I went to the cat area for a reason. There is a tomb inside of this place and there's guaranteed spirit gem drop over here. So with this spirit gem you probably want to try to upgrade Herald of Thunder, but instead I like to defeat this boss, and instead of going forward to the main quest line I went straight to Trials of Sekimas. It's quick little trials that will end with a big boss fight. After defeating this boss we will get ability to pick our ascendancy. And for this build I will use Tactician Ascendancy. It doesn't mean you need to build this guy as Tactician, because if you want to change it later you just need to complete next trials and then you will be able to talk with Trial Master and use Refund passive ability. By refunding passives from your Ascendancy you will be able to change it later. But right now we are Tactician with a solid plan, and I can use the spirit gem we got earlier to craft Wind Dancer. The Wind Dancer is insanely defensive option that will push enemies and destroy enemies when they touch us. Very good. Also I'm adding elemental ornament to increase damage of the skill. But there is another option to craft Herald of Ash. Herald of Ash will increase our clearing speed, and also you will get a lot more experience by picking Herald of Ash. This setup carried me right to the end of Act 2. At this point actually I'm looking for upgrade for my crossbow, because at level 26, at level 29 we can find these nice and upgraded crossbows that will basically double our damage if we are lucky, or even triple if we are super lucky. So after every level up I checked shop and found pretty good crossbow. That's exactly what we looked for. Crossbow with increased physical damage, even without any additional runes and extra affixes, will be pretty powerful. Just look over here. It got just slightly less damage, around 10% less damage without any upgrades. So if I will upgrade this crossbow with Regal Orbs, Exalted Orbs, I will create insanely good weapons that will carry me through Act 3. However, even my Act 2 starting crossbow was pretty good, and I went straight into Act 3 with awful weapon just to see how build will go, because if you're unlucky or you're messing stuff up, probably you're in Act 3 and you're struggling a little bit. Still, I got no problems. Again, build is pretty powerful and runs really well even with just starting Act 2 crossbow, which is completely crazy. And after getting closer to the end of Act 3, I start to look for upgrade for my crossbow. This upgrade will carry me through Act 4. I found one, and that's why we gather loads of stuff. First of all, I'm checking my essences. Do I have any? And no, we are not lucky this time. So in this scenario, I will just add orbs of augmentation or transmutation, depending on what type of crossbow we got right now, and adding a little bit of attributes. At this point, this crossbow is not equipable for me, I'm still low level, but I got Regal Orb to see if we are lucky or not, and we rolled pretty good added physical damage, so I will keep it and check it later. At level 38 I will check if there is any better crossbow at my disposal. So after leveling up a little bit, I see my crossbows and I found one that gives me definitely a lot higher damage. Since I don't have any essence, I used a Regal Orb and dropped a bunch of exalted orbs to finish craft. Then I'm adding sockets, adding quality, and basically making this crossbow insanely good for this part of the game and for the start of Act 4 at least. Spoiler alert, I will use it almost throughout the full campaign until end of interlude. And by smartly allocating passive points, I can improve my reload speed and damage with my basic crossbow skills, and also increase radius of grenades and damage from grenades separately. Here's interesting part. Actually, at this point you can continue playing with galvanic shards and two different ammo types for bosses. For example, you still can use permafrost and fragmentation rounds. At the same time, you can continue using grenades, so basically you can keep our previous style, or you can switch into complete grenade style and use only grenades, or you can switch into galvanic shards, plasma blast and shock burst rounds strategy. So this is basically like base for mercenary, for any mercenary ascendancy and any mercenary build you want to play later, and you can just start like this, go through campaign like butter and adapt or flex into different styles as you wish. Make sure to check pinned comment, because if this build will be nerfed somehow, I will definitely leave a pinned comment with suggestions what to change, but if it's not, well, we basically continue through the interlude with galvanic shards to clear basic enemies and with grenades to focus down bosses as it is. Also, if you like it, don't spend any currency in Act 3 and try to keep it for Act 4, because when you reach this island with Brain Rot Shark boss, you will actually unlock your hideout, and by finishing Ench quest and unlocking hideout, you will be able to start trading. And there is really high possibility that there is loads of players ahead of you, and you can make your journey a lot easier. Instead of crafting your weapons right now, you can just buy them from community market. However, this run was made in solo self-found mod from clear start, so we got no ability to trade, and I used my currency throughout campaign and throughout interlude little by adding affixes to my rings, to my amulet and weapons in most cases. From interlude, start to think about your defenses, because that's where you will start to see that you're probably being one-shotted by most of powerful enemies and powerful bosses. In my experience, if you're able to defeat Act 4 boss, your weapon is basically more than enough to defeat interlude bosses. This one is the hardest one for our build, because we're using grenades, and grenades is pretty slow and he is pretty fast, so we need to aim really carefully, and this guy is just crazily fast and moves unpredictably. Still, there is a bunch of tricks if you're using basic grenades to defeat him. Best approach to fast targets is to just stand near the wall and lure them closer to the wall. It's a lot easier to fight than in the open area. For example, after he using his skill and he will teleport to me by his next move, I moved closer to the wall, then I stunned him with my stun grenade, and basically this was the end of this boss. Now he's stunned near the wall, and look at him, bam, bam, bam. Campaign completed in around 7 hours. If you know layouts of the maps, you can do it in like 5 or 6 hours, but I hope you enjoyed this build and you will have blast playing it in POE2 0.4. Make sure to leave a comment what builds you want next, and see you in the next videos.